Good morning, everybody. This is Linda Kopecki with the Minnesota Breastfeeding Coalition. I'm welcoming you all to our spring All Coalitions teleconference. And I'm very glad you're all here. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording this session. If you don't want your image recorded, feel free to keep your camera off and please keep your microphone off for the time being. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat section. We have several people on this call who will be monitoring the chat portion, and then we'll have sections during this teleconference where we can respond to questions. Go to the next slide. So Jean Freeby, Jean Freeby is a board member for the Minnesota Breastfeeding Coalition, and I'm going to pass to you for the land acknowledgement.
You're muted, Jeannie.
Okay, now you can hear me. Sorry about that. So this is a picture of Jay Cook State Park. If you've never been there, I highly recommend that you go there, and you can camp there. And you can have nice camping, or you can kind of rough it, whatever you want to do, but it's beautiful. The Minnesota Breastfeeding Coalition acknowledges that each person here is inhabiting land that has been the traditional home of Native Americans. This unceded land is home to over 10,000 lakes. The mighty river, Ojibwe people call the Father of Waters, and Dakota people call the River of the Falls. This land has been home to many Native communities and is now home to 7 Ojibwe reservations in the 4 Dakota tribal communities. These families have long known that breast milk is a baby's first medicine. Yet colonialism and historical violence has broken the tradition of breastfeeding for many Native families and communities. Minnesota Breastfeeding Coalition is dedicated to partnering with Indigenous families and communities to reclaim and restore breastfeeding as the first food of choice for all babies. Yes.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask you to put your greetings and introduction in the chat section. I see that several of you have already started that. Thank you. Add your questions. If you have questions, add them to the chat section. If they're for a specific person or a specific project, please include that in your message in the chat section. We will have a period where we can answer questions. And then we'll have we are recording this, and we'll have a recording and the slides available by Monday, probably earlier, but definitely by Monday, April 19th. We have a few goals for this teleconference. The first one is to maximize the Breastfeeding Awareness Month activity options that you can learn from other coalitions. And we want to help you be able to develop multiple plans depending on what the local public health guidelines will be, because you know, August is pretty far away. We're not really sure what the public health guidelines will be. Hoping to grow the social media aspect of Breastfeeding Awareness Month, particularly supporting and encouraging people to participate in virtual activities. And then we also want all of you to learn more about the materials that are available from the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action. So I'm going to launch a few polls. We want to get to know you. So there are several questions on this poll, and we would like to have you answer each question, and then you'll have to click on submit. So I'm going to launch it right now. And so please respond to this poll. And so there are multiple questions. You'll need to answer each of the questions, and then you can click on submit or finished. Okay, we have one person, 2 people who've submitted their polls. Very good. Okay, up to 12. Okay, we're close to everybody submitting. We have 30 people who've finished the poll. Just a few more, and then we'll look at the responses. Okay, a few more of you can answer the poll. We have, okay. We need 6 more people to finish the poll. Okay, we're going to end it now. One more person to respond, perhaps? Okay, there we go. So here are the results. So where are you located? Most people are in the Twin Cities proper. We have a few from Northeast, one person from Northwest, welcome. One from the greater metro area, and a few people from the South, welcome. So where do you do your lactation work? Quite a few with WIC. That's not a surprise. So WIC and local public health and SHIP. So that's not a surprise at all. A few from state health departments or other local government agency, nonprofit, at least one volunteer in the community, and a few others. So you can put that in the chat section, what your other category is. How strong is your intention to create activities for Breastfeeding Awareness Month? Majority of people are just considering. One person definitely not going to develop activities that may be because of where they work or what they do. Small chance, but the vast majority are considering or definitely have plans. So big latch on. A few of you don't know what a big latch on is, so you will learn today. And that's a hallmark of Breastfeeding Awareness Month. And some people have definitely participated many times, but the majority have only heard of the big latch on. So you'll learn more today, definitely. And then what's your experience with social media? The majority have no social media for your coalition. Okay, we're going to learn a little bit more about social media and different activities you can use on social media. 3 of you have all sorts of social media channels. Excellent. So we definitely have a range. So thank you for the getting to know you. I appreciate it. I'm going to hand this over to Carrie Clun, who's my colleague at Minnesota Department of Health WIC, and she's going to explain a few details about Breastfeeding Awareness Month. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks, Linda. We thought we would start with just an overview of some of the nationwide activities around Breast Chest Feeding Awareness Month. So the first week is World Breastfeeding Week, August 1st through 7th. And then week 2, August 9th through 15th is Native Breastfeeding Week. Week 3, August 16th to 24th. They're just starting Asian Pacific Islander Breastfeeding Week. And then also it's been recognized in the past also as Spotlight on Infant and Young Child Feeding in Emergencies. And then week 4, August 25th through the 31st is Black Breastfeeding Week. So the WABA has chosen Protect Breastfeeding, a shared responsibility, as the theme for World Breastfeeding Week this year. And they do have some materials on their website, some of these images that can be shared. And I think maybe go to the next slide. You can use any of their campaign materials, including their logo. So you just have to ask permission from WABA to use their logo on any campaign materials that you're working on. And they also ask that you submit any activity or event that you're planning on organizing on their pledge map, and then use hashtags throughout your social media, hashtag World Breastfeeding Week 2021 and the other ones as well. So at the end of the presentation, we do have a resource list that includes WABA, US Breastfeeding Coalition, all of the resources that can be used for Native Breastfeeding Week, Black Breastfeeding Week. So you'll have an opportunity to glance at those resources after you hear great examples of what's happening across our state for these events, and then over that have happened in the past couple of years as well.
Thank you. We're going to launch into our examples right now. We have several people from around the state who wants to share examples, and these are not, these are a range of ideas for this year's World Breastfeeding Week, plans and examples from past Breastfeeding Awareness Month activities. So it's just a variety of what has been done and what people are planning on doing or what people hope to do. So just some examples. At the end of this, we'll have a section for questions and answers, and then we're going to move into breakout rooms so you can discuss different topics. So I'd like to start with Jean Freeby. And for the presenters, if you could each introduce yourself, I'd appreciate that. I'm going to put myself on mute. Go to the next slide, and Jean, you're first up.
Okay. Well, this is about creative partnership between our coalition and the Minnesota Milk Bank for Babies and American Red Cross. We are in a place where we want to merge all three for the sake of promoting use of breast milk for all of our babies in this manner. This picture on the left is our big latch on, our last in-person one in 2019. We secured a really nice location that had indoor protected, weather shelter. And then we had our big latch on event outside. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. A lot of participation, a lot of excitement. And if you look away to the left, see that there's a cute little girl in a pink dress. And then if you keep looking up and up and up, there is, I'm pointing, Kim Welvert, who's on the meeting today. She's really inspired our community, bringing the idea of having a big latch on and the awareness of it to our coalition. And so I'm thankful for that on her behalf. She had a lot of experience she brought from where she came from in Wisconsin. We plan on trying to have a big latch on event this year. Last year it didn't happen. And what we're going to do this year is combine, we're going to have the Minnesota Milk Bank for Babies there to screen potential milk donors. We're going to have our big latch on event, and we're going to have a blood mobile there to actually maybe do the blood draw screenings, opportunity for maybe dads or family members that are physically able to donate blood, and combine this event all into one cool creative thing. So I don't know if it's ever been really done anywhere else. Have been in the works doing this for a while, and we hope it's successful. Does anyone have any questions?
So we're going to hold questions till the end of all the presentations. Okay. But Jean, I'm wondering if you can explain your geography. Where are you located?
We're located in central Minnesota, St. Cloud. Mm-hmm. And then the picture on the right just is showing how we do curbside milk donation. I manage our milk depot in central Minnesota. And then the man holding the bag there is Dave Walls, the director of our care center and our clinic at the plaza for women's and children's services. And he is just on the front lines always. We appreciate that about him. And
He's
it
on
was
the call
like
today.
he's oh yeah. So
Um,
it's great.
Thanks. But if you do have a question for Jean, please put it in the chat section and indicate that it's for this topic or for this person. We'll capture those at the end of the examples. Thanks. We're going to go to the next one, which is Tequila Lightfield here? This is
I am.
hi, Tequila. So
I know it's always questionable.
please introduce yourself. I'm going to put myself on mute. And then if you can describe all the activities that happened last year and then maybe some plans for this year too.
Yeah, so my name's Tequila Lightfield. I am Lakota, Minicoji Lakota, originally from South Dakota. I live in Richfield, Minnesota with my family right now. And I am an Indigenous breastfeeding counselor and doula. And I work with lots of different Native groups and planning committees and nonprofits. So I was part of the organizing committee for Native Breastfeeding Week since 2019. So I'm going to give a little bit about the background of that. And I just had a baby, so you might hear her in the background. So Native Breastfeeding Week was established in August of 2019. It started as a Facebook group page, but now you can also find us on Instagram. It was founded by my friend and activist Jasha Lyons Echohawk, who is Seminole, Pawnee Creek, Omaha, and Iowa, and lives in Oklahoma with their family. Jasha posted in 2019 kind of their reason for starting this and said, "My hope is to fight for access to all mothers who can and want to breastfeed will have that right, anytime, anywhere, on demand, and extended breastfeeding is not taboo, but culturally relevant and respected. I want to continue reclaiming that connection to my roots as a tribal descendant of so many communities. Finally, I want to celebrate all of us and our supporters because we're fighting adversity and healing generations. I hope all of you will find a place with this community." So mainly Native Breastfeeding Week exists to highlight Native breastfeeding experiences through the visibility of personal testimonies, partner experiences, research articles, barriers, and or successes. So a lot of times we share individual stories about breasts or chest feeding. You know, we share work that's being done all across Turtle Island. And let's see. And then we've definitely evolved in the last not quite 2 years that we've been a thing. And so now our main, or our kind of like main goal is to be inclusive of everyone who is providing human milk to babies. So now our new thing is this community is to reflect the diversity of Native experiences relative to breastfeeding, chest feeding, and or human milk feeding. We aim to encourage and uplift visibility of all these experiences. Breastfeeding is defined as the natural feeding of babies and young children with milk from a woman's breast, but we recognize this is gendered language and continually work to find accurate language and resources for our chest feeding and non-breastfeeding lactating relatives because we want to recognize all of our relatives. This community also hopes to address the inequity and injustice of Indigenous parents and their abilities to practice their roles in accordance with the tribal communities they descend from. There are so many that work across Turtle Island to ensure all parents have access and opportunity to reclaim their right to freely nurse their children however they need to or able to. And it occurs the second week, or it starts the second Sunday of August, which is recognized, as we all know, as the United States National Breastfeeding Month. So on average, our reach is a few thousand people on Facebook, but some of our posts have had as many as 500,000 because it's like, it's crazy to me how social media works, but that's our reach. So for engagement, it varies between a few hundred and then tens of thousands of people that actually like read or, you know, share our articles or stories. We do all organic posting, so we don't pay for any kind of sponsorships. So it's pretty amazing that some of our posts have, you know, reached anywhere from 300 to 500,000 people. But on average, it's just a few that are following us. In 2020, we actually were more organized than 2019. 2019, it was kind of last minute. A few of us, Jasha reached out to a few of us and asked us to help, but we didn't really have any kind of organizing. In 2020, we started organizing about 7 months prior to Native Breastfeeding Week. And as you can see on the slide, we had people join the planning committee. Some of the lactivists are very well known throughout Turtle Island, and then others are up and coming in the Native community. Some of the things that we did were we had a Native artist create the art that you see on the slide. And then we also piggybacked off the Native breastfeeding or the Wisconsin Native Breastfeeding Coalition, sorry if I got that name wrong, and used the hashtag Strong Resilient Latched as our theme for the week. And let's see. So every morning, starting with Sunday, we had a sunrise prayer or sunrise ceremony that we did live on Facebook, which included prayer or song. We tried to represent people from all across Turtle Island. So, you know, we had Doreen Day was the one who started us off on Sunday. And then we had people from the Southwest and North Carolina and just all over, just so we have representation. We also every evening during the work week, we had a different topic that we covered. So there was parenting in a pandemic, Indigenous breastfeeding and perinatal support circle, which is here locally, that was started here. We had fierce aunties circle for non-parenting caregivers. Milk sharing is not wet nursing support circle, chest feeding and non-binary support circle. And then Saturday, we had the first annual Indigenous Breastfeeding Counselor Awards. And that Indigenous Breastfeeding Counselor training was created by Cami Goldhammer and Kimberly Salas Moore. And then we also had things throughout the week, like the virtual 5K. We had t-shirts for sale, you know, lots of individual people's stories, and yeah, lots of sharing. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and I can answer questions at the end. So thank you.
Thank you, Takayla. So if you have questions about Native Breastfeeding Week, about this amazing week-long social media push, or Takayla specifically, please put them in the chat. We're going to go to the next one. This is going to be Megan Johnson speaking. And Megan, I'm hoping you'll introduce yourself. And this was an in-person event last summer.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Megan Johnson. I'm with St. Paul, Ramsey County. We did an in-person event in August last year. Because we are tied to a county public health system, the first step in our process was getting different types of approvals. And this was what I consider kind of last minute. We had some pent up desire to meet with our community because we hadn't held any in-person lactation support meetings for 5 months. We really wanted to hold space in the community, with the community, for lactation support. So we started in June, which seems kind of last minute for a county government agency. But because we're with WIC, we were in this middle time period where we thought we were going to be planning for expansion of services. Like in our WIC program, we thought we might start to see clients in person soon. So we had just received approval from our WIC manager and county leadership that we could meet with people in person in our WIC clinics. That part ended up going away, but it served us really well in our planning to do an August breast chest feeding month activity in person. So after we got that approval from county leadership, I should say part of that planning and getting approval was identifying safety plans. So for this meeting, we identified that we would have it at an outdoor location, that we would have masks required, sanitizer, and physical distancing guidance. Once we had those approvals in place, we worked with our county's COVID response team to get equipment, PPE, and things like signage, and all those materials. So we were able to get like adult and child face masks as well to provide for people in case they didn't have their own. So all those things happened in about June or July. And then by early August, the next step for us was we had chosen this location, this park shelter at Como Park, right across from the zoo and conservatory. And we were a little bit flexible with our dates. So we just started a Parks and Rec account, reached out to the people who organize park shelter reservations. And we had a couple of dates that we wanted to work with and narrowed it down to one that worked on everyone's end. We knew that this park shelter had a 50-person capacity. So we felt like in addition to it being outdoors, it had a pretty big capacity. If it was raining and we all needed to get under the shelter, that would be appropriate for the size of this group. There's a playground nearby, so it's very family friendly, and we really could spread out as long as the weather was cooperative, and it was a very beautiful day on the event, on the day of the event. The total for reservation was $75, and our WIC grant paid for that. So once we narrowed down our dates and had everything in place, it was just about notifying the community and inviting people. So we used the flyer that's on this slide. We sent that out to WIC participants who are participating in the WIC program. We also had our peer breastfeeding counselors invite the families on their caseload to let them know, and especially if the peers were planning on being there, it would be a nice opportunity to meet the person who's supporting them in their lactation journey. And then we had a Ramsey County social media account posted about the event as well to let people know about it. So that's kind of the hows of how we got there. We ended up having a really beautiful day, like I said. 8 dyads attended. Most brought at least one support person. And then we had several kids in attendance as well. We found that it was a really much needed social and lactation support. People were really excited to share their birth stories, show off their babies. And it really just seemed like a really positive environment where people were relieved to have a little outdoor excursion, a release from their isolation that they've been experiencing over the course of the summer. So it was a very successful event. We really enjoyed it. All things came together to work really well to make the event happen. And I'll take questions at the end as well.
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it. So if you have questions about a safe in-person event, a baby cafe, this specific event, or for Megan in general, please put those in the chat section and indicate sort of the direction of your question. I'm gonna go to the next one. See Her should be on the call, and see, don't forget to introduce yourself, and I'll put myself on mute so you can talk about what the Hmong Breastfeeding Coalition did last year.
Okay, hi, so I'm See Her, and I'm from the Hmong Breastfeeding Coalition. So the Hmong Breastfeeding Coalition is, we were a project for like 2.5 years, and then we just became a coalition under the Minnesota Breastfeeding Coalition last year. So we are still a new coalition. We're still learning, but we're working on it. And then for last year, we used social media to deliver our breastfeeding message to our Hmong community. And there are a few reasons why we like to use social media, especially Facebook, because it's free. People all over the world can watch it as long as they follow our Facebook page. And we can deliver the breastfeeding message through the use of storytelling, like verbal. The reason we like storytelling and we like to focus more on storytelling videos and stuff like that is because many Hmong people today, they cannot read or write Hmong anymore, but they can still speak and understand Hmong. So by using storytelling, a lot of the Hmong community members, they can understand our message. And then for last year, we did 3 Facebook Live. The first one was about breastfeeding in the Hmong community. So due to COVID, we were unable to do the events in person. So we used Facebook Live to connect and to communicate with the Hmong community. Breastfeeding is a topic that the Hmong community usually don't like to talk about. So the Facebook Live events was to create a safe space for the Hmong people to come together to share thoughts, feelings, concerns, and to ask questions about breastfeeding. And this Facebook Live, we were able to have both Hmong people and people who are not Hmong to participate by using the comment box to type their answers, concerns, and to share their breastfeeding experience. And at the end of the event, we did 3 drawings, and each winner got a $50 gift card. For the second Facebook Live event was about how is it like to have a baby during the pandemic. We post announcements on Facebook on our page, and we ask for pregnant women and new moms to participate and to share with us about their experience. We were able to get one pregnant woman, and she shared with us about her concerns and about what she needs to do being pregnant during the pandemic. And we also got a mom who just recently gave birth. And then, so this is her second child, and she gave birth to her previous one before the pandemic. And she talked about the 2 experience, having a baby before the pandemic and having a baby during the pandemic. How are those 2 experiences different? And what she needs to do to make sure that baby can breastfeed, and then it's also safe for baby during the pandemic. And we also got a daughter. She is a family doctor, but she also delivered babies at the hospital, and she shared with us about how to take care of pregnant mom and pregnant women and new moms during the pandemic. And the third Facebook Live event was part 2 of how is it like to have a baby during the pandemic. So we have like part 1 and part 2, and then the third Facebook Live was part 2 of that. So for part 2, we were able to get one father. He was the first time dad, and then he talked about his his concern and his experience about having the first baby in his life during the pandemic, and what he needs to do and his experience. Yeah, so he had a lot of like concern and anxiety, and then we also got another pregnant woman to share her concerns about being pregnant during the COVID. And then we got another doctor. He is a family doctor, and he shared with us his experience about how to treat and how to take care of moms, new moms, and pregnant women during the pandemic. He also talked about what the COVID-19 virus is, and how to protect yourself when you go into a clinic, and what do the clinic and the hospital do to make sure that you're safe, and then other precautions. And then all these 3 Facebook Live events were founded by Ramsey County. And then the Hmong Breastfeeding Coalition, even though we are a new coalition, we always pay the people who participate in our Facebook Live events. we never ask anyone to do anything for free because we respect people's time and their participation. And we want to make sure that everyone get paid for the work that they do to grow our coalition. Yeah, so I will take questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, C. Much appreciated. We have two more. So the next one, and then again, please add your questions to the chat. I see the list of questions is growing in the chat section, which is great. If you have questions specifically for the Hmong Breastfeeding Coalition, specifically for C, about Facebook Live events, or about how to do a panel discussion on Facebook Live, how to boost it, please put that in the chat section. Our next presentation, okay, we talked about the Big Latch On. Now is the time to get information about what a Big Latch On is. And Whitney Nelson is going to speak to this. And Whitney, please introduce yourself and then take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Whitney. I co-chair the Crow River Area Breastfeeding Coalition, and I actually work locally with Sibley County specifically. Our coalition serves Meeker, McLeod, and Sibley counties. So I work in Sibley County doing family health programs like child and teen checkups, WIC, family home visiting, and car seats. So in 2018 and 2019, we hosted the Big Latch On event in person. And then in 2020, we used Facebook for an all virtual Big Latch On event. And each year the event has grown in participation. I know a few people had responded that they aren't really sure what the Big Latch On event is. So I was just going to read a little paragraph from their website. So it says the Global Big Latch On events take place at registered locations around the world where people gather together to breastfeed and offer peer support to each other. Their friends, family, and community join this celebration to promote and support breastfeeding. Volunteers from within the community host each location. Hosting a Global Big Latch On event creates a lasting support network for the community. So I have to start by giving a huge shout out to what we call our Big Latch On subcommittee. I know some of them are on here today. So this is just a passionate group of people that puts this event on every year, and they have made it a big success that a lot of people in the community really look forward to every year. So every spring, our coalition asks for volunteers and establishes this subcommittee, and then they take it away and start planning. So our coalition actually holds funds for the Big Latch On event. So there's always some rolling funds from year to year that are specifically for this event. And fundraising and asking for donations has been a big part of this event and is usually one of the first steps that is taken. So each spring, we usually send letters out or stop by local businesses and ask for donations to the event. In the past, we've received things like gift cards, monetary donations, or silent auction items. We then use the donations to fund or promote the event. And when we hosted in-person events, we would use some of the monetary donations for things like snacks, beverages, or general hosting expenses. And then we would use gift cards or other monies for purchasing giveaways or more silent auction items. So our virtual event that we did last year also included quite a few giveaways to increase engagement. So when we were in person, our first year, the event in person was held at a library due to the weather. And then the second year, we were able to have it in the park here, which is what you see the picture of. So the first year we had a professional photographer actually donate her time to the event. So we have some really great pictures that the families enjoyed a lot. And then to kind of go along with that, every year we have everyone sign a photo release in person. So if they did not sign the photo release, they wore some sort of like button on their shirt to signal that they really didn't want their picture taken, or that we wouldn't post or share any of those photos. So if you are planning on hosting a big latch on event, the first step I would say would be to check out their website. They have a really great website. Like I said, it's a global organization and they always provide toolkits and graphics and resources. And so you'll want to start there, check out all those resources, and then you have to register to host the event, which it's free to register as a host. And so they have not yet announced if this year will be virtual or in person or both. Last year it was a requirement that they wanted all the events to be virtual. So for our in-person events, we offered booths to our local hospitals, doulas, support groups, local public health, or other resources, and there was a small fee attached to that. And then we also had quite a few family-friendly activities at the in-person events, clown with balloons, chalk, games, and then, like I said, it was at either the library or the park. So just good family-friendly atmosphere. Another activity in person was a large poster that everyone got to write on, and it's actually held up behind our big latch there in the picture. So the in-person event was more of just a one-day thing, whereas the virtual event last year was a whole week. So on the right side, that's kind of that schedule for the week. So we created the event in advance and offered a giveaway entry for clicking going to the event. So once people were clicking going, they were getting all of the notifications, and there was a giveaway associated with that. And then leading up to the event, we shared about, what our coalition is, what the Big Latch On is. I know our local resource guides were shared to the event. And then there was also a live video just explaining how the event will work. So there was some preparation inside that virtual event as well, leading up to that World Breastfeeding Week. And then the schedule was posted. So it started August 1st with the actual Big Latch On. So obviously we had to get creative with the virtual aspect of it. So there was a post that morning that moms needed to comment on, and then they were included in our total count, which that count is reported back to the global Big Latch On, and whether it's virtual or in person. And then they total everything up globally, and you get to see just some amazing numbers with how many people came together to breastfeed together and just support breastfeeding. So you could comment on the post, and then you were counted in the final count for our event. And then there was also a Zoom link posted there too. So if moms were interested, they could hop on that Zoom link after they commented and just be connected, if they wanted to just have some conversation on top of that. So that was kind of the start of the week. And then August 2nd was an activity where moms could comment and share their breastfeeding badges. And so that had to do with the La Leche League breastfeeding badges. And they're just different milestones that moms could kind of screenshot those badges and post or comment, their accomplishments. And of course, there was a giveaway associated with that. August 3rd was breastfeeding bingo. So there was a bingo template posted with, again, kind of those breastfeeding accomplishments. And so moms could screenshot those and, kind of draw on the screen with their bingo and then post that as a comment to be entered for a giveaway. And then the live videos. So August 4th was a live video with Jenny, and Jenny is one of our public health nurses in one of our counties. She also works in family health. So Jenny went live that morning and just shared about different local public health programs like child and teen checkups, WIC, postpartum newborn visits, lactation support, and then home visiting. So she just shared all about those things. August 5th was another live video with Jill, our coalition member. And she just shared and did a demo for breastfeeding while baby wearing. And then Live with Meg on August 6th, that was, Meg is one of our peer breastfeeding counselors through WIC, and she also leads our Moms Like You support group. So she shared all about those resources on a live video. And then we had one extra ad in. We were lucky enough to have Joanne Wesley with Meeker Memorial Hospital. She was willing to hop on and do a live video and share about, you know, a little COVID-19 and breastfeeding update. So that was a really great way to collaborate with one of our local hospitals. And we also had that local public health presence, the support group presence. It was just really scattered throughout the week. And in those live videos, there was usually a giveaway. So either they had to comment on the video, or there was a question asked during the video, or even like a keyword kind of hidden in the video that they had to comment and be entered into some fun giveaways. So on top of these main presentations each day, there were posts about different local resources. And then there were also posts with community chats to increase engagement. So some of those community chat topics were, you know, tell us about your breastfeeding journey, or tell us about your breastfeeding support system. And of course, there were always giveaways associated with those. And so the giveaway winners were usually posted throughout the week. We didn't just want people to come back at the end and see if they won something. So all of the different posts and kind of just posting who was winning the giveaways, it really kept people engaged and motivated to keep participating virtually, which we know can be kind of difficult. And then at the end, the Global Big Latch On always appreciates donations. So after all of our events, we have always made a donation to support their cause on a higher level, just because they do put out all of those resources and do all of that work. So we have started planning for the 2021 event. I know the committee has discussed doing a similar virtual event and maybe ending it with a safely distanced get together, or even a drive-through event for swag bags or giveaways. But of course, I know there was a comment earlier too, the Global Big Latch On organization has not yet posted any recommendations as to what they would like this year to look like. So it's largely dependent on that as well.
Thank you, Whitney. I already see questions in the chat section. So if you have questions for Whitney or for Crow River Breastfeeding Coalition or about the Big Latch On, please put them in the chat section. And we're going to go to the next person. But I just also want to say that for any of the presenters, if you see a comment or a question in the chat section that can be easily responded to with your comment or a link, feel free to do that. Okay, so feel free to add your responses into the chat section if that seems appropriate. Otherwise, we're going to have a section for questions and answers after the next presentation. So the next one's going to be about Black Breastfeeding Week, and we have Dr. LaVon Moore, who will describe what they've done for the past couple of years. Last year was a sort of hybrid event with a little bit of in-person and then a viewing party for Chocolate Milk Documentary. But LaVon, if you could please introduce yourself and then let us know what the good work that you've been doing.
Okay, let me can't seem to get my video to come on. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. I am Dr. LaVon Moore. I am a nurse midwife and lactation consultant, and I am the founder of the Chocolate Milk Club, which is a part of Chosen Vessels Midwifery Services. It's our cultural model of care to provide support to Black women in the community and their families who are breastfeeding. So basically, we serve African-American women through the Chocolate Milk Club. And we have an annual event that we do during Black Breastfeeding Week, and we call it the Chocolate Milk Day. And that's when we celebrate breastfeeding families, past and or present, who are breastfeeding. And some of the pictures just denote that we do have traditionally an outdoor event in the park during the last week of breastfeeding month, which is Black Breastfeeding Week. So we normally do it on a Thursday afternoon. We have entertainment, we have food, we have giveaway t-shirts and grab bags, and we have increasingly tried to make it more of a carnival-like experience for people. We really wanted to be kids friendly with games and face painters and balloons and all of that, to try and just celebrate our breastfeeding families. And we have a really good time. And so that's what we do normally every year. It's normally on a Thursday evening. But last year, because of COVID, of course, we did more of a hybrid event in the fact that we did a drive-through where we had people come through, pick up goodie bags that were put together as part of the chocolate milk documentary viewing. So people could register to view the movie, drive through the event at the park to pick up a goodie bag for the movie that included, you know, microwave popcorn and chocolates and blah, 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 movie candy basically for that event. And then the movie, we collaborated with the Minnesota Breastfeeding Coalition and the folks in St. Paul that, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name right now, to have a panel discussion after the documentary. And so what we have found is many people have found that it takes a lot of work to keep people connected virtually. People of color don't always have the same view around virtual events. We've had many women complain that they miss their in-person events. They like to get together in person. So that's been a challenge. But that's what we've done in the past, is to have that annual event in the park celebrating all families past and present who are breastfeeding, and make it fun and festive. And it's really awesome for women to see other women who are breastfeeding in the community, because it often feels so isolating to women. They're like, I don't never see anybody else breastfeeding. So it's a cultural practice that we're working hard to reclaim. We're trying to revive breastfeeding, you know, restore this practice in our community, and support it. And so this is just one of the ways that we do that. And also at our event, we have an award that we give away every year that is called the Rhonda Spears White Award. And Rhonda Spears White was a predecessor around lactation in the community who really encouraged and pushed breastfeeding in our community, who passed away. And so we have an annual award that we give to current community lactivists to encourage them to continue their work in supporting our community to breastfeed. We really understand the importance of it as a health preventative tool that I think people are beginning to understand more and more. And so we just want to continue to encourage and keep women breastfeeding. So I hope that answers your questions. Let me see if there's anything in the chat. Currently, we
I'm gonna move to the next, because it is questions. So Levon, feel free to answer that question. And what I'm actually gonna do is stop sharing so we can see each other's faces. So if people want to put their cameras on, let's look at the chat and get some of those questions answered. Go for it.
Okay.
Levon.
So the one thing there is in the chat is, can someone join the Chocolate Milk Club if they're pregnant? We really try to limit the Chocolate Milk Club to women who are actually breastfeeding. And there's, we found that there has been support for women in pregnancy, but not necessarily in the postpartum period with breastfeeding. So we want to really support actively breastfeeding women. So at this time, we have not had members join until they are really, truly breastfeeding.
Thank you. So Carrie, you can look at the chat with me as well. There was a question about Baby Cafe for Megan. Just a question about the resource books that were distributed at the Baby Cafe. If you can comment on that, please. And then funding.
We have several books that we've accumulated over the years, paid for by mostly our WIC grant. So they cover a lot of different topics. We try to have different cultures and languages represented as well. So some are geared toward children. There's one called Mama's Milk. We have, and that one's in English and Spanish. Nurses When the Sun Shines is a kid's book. We have Breastfeeding Answers Made Simple, of course, a big giant text, book. That's usually more for referencing and not for lending out. We have Where's the Mother? Stories from a transgender dad. We have Work, Pump, Repeat about the work experience. A lot of La Leche League book for references, and those are well liked and very helpful. We have those in a couple languages. What to Feed Your Baby and Toddler, Ina May's Guide to Breastfeeding, Free to Breastfeed, Voices from Black Mothers by Janine Valerie Logan and Anaya Sanguadela Ayoka. Adventures in Tandem Nursing. So we just have a lot of different topics about, work, about various ages and stages. And then we try to cover different culture and language as well. If anybody has ideas for books, we're always interested.
Thank you. There was a question for the different coalitions about, are any of you 501c3s? So registered nonprofits. Minnesota Breastfeeding Coalition is a 501c3. I'll just put that out there because that's who I represent. Anybody else?
The Crow River Area Breastfeeding Coalition is not.
Okay.
Chocolate Milk Club currently is not.
I don't think Central Minnesota is either. Hmong Breastfeeding Coalition is not. Tequila, is the Indigenous Breastfeeding Coalition, the National Indigenous Breastfeeding Coalition, is that a 501c3?
Neither of them are.
Okay.
Central Minnesota isn't either.
Okay, well, that's like 6 for 6, I think. Okay. Carrie, do you see any other questions? What about?
Yeah, we had another question for Whitney from Crow River, or a comment for a little more information. LaSherian noted that she'd like to learn more about the breastfeeding bingo.
Linda, am I able to share my screen? Do you know?
You should be able to.
Okay, I've got the event up. It's probably easier
Yes.
to just show you what it looks like. Are you guys seeing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was one of our posts, and save the picture, edit with your accomplishments, and share with the group to be eligible to win a nursing necklace. So gave credit to the image, and then of course all these comments here, which people kind of just drew their bingos.
Oh my gosh.
Question. How can we access those bingo cards?
That one I think was just a saved image from another account that we just gave credit to.
Hi, Whitney. Is it okay if I hop on quick? This is Jill.
Yes, absolutely.
So I am part of the Crow River Area Breastfeeding Coalition and part of the Big Latch On subcommittee. I did the majority of the posting stuff. And when I did the imaging, I simply just went to Google and typed in like breastfeeding bingo. And there was a bunch of links that came up. So I found one I kind of liked that I thought would have a good range of meeting people's like accomplishments, and then saved it and then gave the credit from where I got it from.
Thank you.
Much. I know I saw a couple other questions. There was one about the milk drive, wasn't there? Yes, there was a question about the milk drive.
Yeah, I can answer that. Tequila Lightfield asked that of
Okay,
me.
go for it.
So Tequila, the event has not happened yet. It was in the works, and then COVID just stop and pause. And so we're hoping to do that this during World Breastfeeding Week. And at that event, we want to actually try to collect milk. There's a refrigerated area where we could actually take milk. But we're not sure about that because we have to have room to put it if we get too much, and can get kind of crazy if we got all sorts of donated milk. We only take screened donated milk, and we only have so much room. But we'll see. I mean, it's still in the works. So I hope I'm answering your question.
Yes, thank you.
Linda, can I make a comment?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I forgot to share what we were doing this year. I talked about our past, and so we normally had face-to-face, excuse me, events at the park, and then we went to that kind of hybrid, which had far less turnout. And then this year we are moving back to the park face-to-face event, and that will not be community-wide. So we're going to just do our event for Chocolate Milk Club members only, to make it more of a safer face-to-face event outside in the park this year.
Awesome. It's exciting to think about actually being face-to-face with anybody right now. Thank you. I'm going to entertain, we're going to go into breakout rooms to talk about the different topics, and you'll be able to choose your breakout room. But one person had a question, and you had a question about 503 status. Do you want to just use that question?
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about in the Scott County Coalition at one of our last meetings was the possibility of the statewide coalition being an umbrella, possibly for the other coalitions, so that we could just, when we looked at becoming a, what is it, 503c, whatever that is for nonprofits, it was a little more cumbersome and awkward for us to consider, but we would, I mean, that would benefit the small groups too. I just don't know enough about that. But if the big group might be able to explore that, or have you already?
We do that in some ways. And Marcia is on this now too. She probably has a lot more history than I do, but NBC has acted as a fiscal agent, specifically right now for the Hmong Breastfeeding Coalition, and getting that started. And they've actually received several grants where we're the fiscal agent for their grant, because they're not a 501c3.
And we've done the same thing for the Olmsted County Breastfeeding Coalition for several years now, where we're like the bank. We hold the money for them.
Definitely. So I think we'll go into breakout sessions. I'm going to share my screen again, and then you can actually, hopefully, if this works, and I'm hoping it works, you'll be able to choose your breakout session. If you cannot choose your breakout session, you'll be staying in the main room, and you can let us know which breakout session you want. So here are the names of the breakout sessions. And it's just a chance for you to speak with some other people in person for about, probably about 15 minutes. We're going to do 15 minutes. And you can speak in person about these different topics. You can actually move breakout rooms potentially. or you can come back to the main room and we can put you in another breakout room. So I'm going to open up these breakout rooms. We're going to have 15 minutes and you get to choose. I think we're all back. And so I know some people dropped off probably because they have other things to do on a Friday. But welcome back, everybody. I'm hoping that you had a fruitful discussion, and I know I cut off at least one discussion, so sorry about that. But I'm going to pass this over to Carrie really quickly so that she can, we just have a few minutes left. If Carrie can take a moment and just cover the WABA resources, and then at the end we have a little poll for an evaluation, just so we don't have an evaluation that we have to send to you. We're just going to take another poll with a few questions. So Carrie, could you please just comment a little bit on some of the WABA resources?
Yeah, so at the beginning, we just shared the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action has resources on their website that are available at no charge. They don't have a lot of their resources up yet, so keep checking back on their website for when those resources will be posted. But the World Breastfeeding Week theme this year is Protect Breastfeeding, a Shared Responsibility. And then if you want to switch to the next slide, Linda. So in addition to the WABA resources, the USBC has information from last year's National Breastfeeding Month. So all of the various weeks with Native Breastfeeding Week, Black Breastfeeding Week. And they also have a social media toolkit, which is really helpful, that has pictures that you're free to use, social media posts that you can customize to your organization and share, and then the links to Native Breastfeeding Week and Black Breastfeeding Week. And so kind of keep watching all of these pages for updates as people get further along in planning their events for celebrating in August.
Thank you. And just a reminder that by Monday at the latest, I'll be sending you a recording of this presentation, of this teleconference, and also I'll send you the PDFs of the slides. On that PDF, these links will be active. So you just scroll to this page on the PDF that you receive, and these links will be active. So I just want to say thank you, everybody who planned this and presented. And I also want to just do the final poll, which is our evaluation. So if you could just answer these few questions, and then we'll see what everybody thought of the teleconference. And this helps us learn how to present other teleconferences and what to present as content.
You only get to choose one. Is that how it works, Linda?
Some of them you can choose multiple. Some you can choose one, and some you can choose multiple.
I completed it, doesn't move. It won't let me push next or.
Oh, I see that your response is registered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then we're halfway through. Half the people have responded, and then, oh, we're getting there. We're very close, and then I'll share all the results so we can see what the responses were. I'm going to give it just one more second. And we're pretty close to everybody responding. So I'm going to close this, and I'm just going to share the results.
Oh, shoot.
So most people said the style was clear and easy to follow. And the examples was a good way for people to learn. We want to make sure that the style of these presentations and these workshops and teleconferences meets people's learning needs. Okay, as far as, did you learn anything new? Okay, a few things. Most people learned a few things. Good. And people are feeling good. A few are feeling very excited and motivated, I'm glad. Or most other people are feeling pretty good and a little bit more motivated. And then what are your intentions? Might organize something for Breastfeeding Awareness Month, and more likely, most people are more likely. to organize events, and a few people are more likely to organize events and use social media. So thank you. And thank you, everybody. So appreciated to have you here, and we're just at time, and the recording will be available by Monday. Have a great day, everybody. Great weekend.